National Guard troops were called to respond to protesters following the police shooting and death of a 20-year-old man by the name of Dante Wright. He was unarmed at the time. Wright was also shot by a Brooklyn Center cop in Minnesota during a traffic stop. The cop alleged that Wright had an outstanding warrant, which he discovered after he had pulled Wright over. Now, Wright's mother was on the phone with him as he was being pulled over, as the incident was unfolding, and we should hear what she has to say about it. Let's take a listen.
My son was 20 years old. He got pulled over for having air fresheners in the car that I just gave him.
2 weeks ago.
All he did was have air fresheners in the car and they told him to get out of the car. He got out of the car and his girlfriend said they shot him. He got back in the car and he drove away and crashed. And now he's dead on the ground since 1:47. Nobody will tell us anything. Nobody will talk to us.
Y'all gotta talk to her now.
The BCA just says that they are investigating it. I asked them to please take my son off the ground. He's been there since 1:47 this afternoon.
They left my son on the ground for 8 hours in his house. They couldn't even donate his organs. They're not gonna give you no information.
So a lawyer on Twitter, I'm not certain if this is an attorney representing the family here, but nonetheless, it was confirmed that earlier today, Dante was shot to death during a traffic stop, reportedly about an air freshener obstructing a mirror. And so that was later confirmed during a press conference by the police department. And I do want to actually get to that video because while there's still many unanswered questions about what happened during that traffic stop, the cops, the chief specifically, Tim Gannon, has confirmed that the shooting appears to have been a mistake. Listen to what he has to say with his own words.
As you can hear, the officer, while struggling with Mr. Wright, shouts, "Taser, taser," several times. That is part of the officer's training prior to deploying a taser, which is a less lethal device. That is done to make her partners aware, as well as the subject, that a taser deployment will be imminent. During this encounter, however, the officer drew their handgun instead of their taser. For informational purposes, we train with our handguns on our dominant side and our taser on our weak side. So if you're right-handed, you carry your firearm on your right side and you carry your taser on the left. This is done purposefully and is trained. As I watch the video and listen to the officer's commands, it is my belief that the officer had the intention to deploy their taser, but instead shot Mr. Wright with a single bullet. This appears to me, from what I viewed and the officer's reaction and distress immediately after, that this was an accidental discharge.
Accidental discharge. Let me just note that this officer has been described as an experienced veteran of the department. Also, I would just say that a gun feels a little different from a taser, but it is important to show you what the body cam footage captured of that incident. So let's look at that final video and then Cenk, will go to you.
Don't get this stuff, bro. Don't do it. Don't do it.
So the vehicle continued to travel for several blocks before striking another vehicle, and luckily, the person in the other vehicle did not get hurt. But in this case, of course, we have a 20-year-old unarmed man who was shot and killed by a cop who had allegedly mistaken her gun for a taser. Cenk.
All right, so this case is a little bit more complicated than most of the cases that we cover. So look, there could be more evidence, and almost certainly will be more evidence that comes out. But for now, looking at that video, he ran. He shouldn't have done that. Should they have shot him for running? No. Did she mean to shoot him or tase him? If all I had was that evidence, I would conclude she meant to tase him. She said taser, taser, taser. a number of times. Then after she shoots him, she yells out an expletive, seems genuinely surprised, and then says, "I shot him." And so another piece of evidence is when they finally catch up with him after he's crashed and he's bleeding out or already dead, they actually did CPR. That's not what cops normally do. And so when he starts running and he's already shot, he's got to get to a hospital, because 9 out of 10 times in the stories that we've covered, if the police get to you first, they will handcuff you and let you bleed out and die. And so there was some degree of panic here that they had accidentally shot him. It looks like, you guys can make your own judgment. You saw the video yourself. That's my takeaway from it. Now, I don't want you to think like, oh, okay, well then that's okay. No, it's not okay. It's called manslaughter. And if you negligently shoot someone, like, oh, I meant to tase them, but instead I shot him, that's still a crime. It's just not, if all of that is true, it's just not first-degree murder, but it's still a very, very significant crime. You can't just say, oh, I didn't mean to shoot my neighbor, but I shot him and I killed him. Okay, then you're going to jail. And so it depends on the circumstances, and that's the situation at hand here. And one of the things that needs to be sorted out is, why did they pull him over? So the family's saying air freshener. The cops are saying he had a warrant for his arrest. So it appears that he did have a warrant out for his arrest, but I don't know whether the cops knew that or they were just pulling over a black guy because that's what they do, right? So, but he did have a warrant and he ran, and he shouldn't have done that because it's a terrible idea to begin with, given how many guys, do you watch the news at all? If you run from the cops, the chance of them shooting you is incredibly high. Are they supposed to? No, they're not supposed to. Do they do it all the time? Yes, they do it almost every time. So, that's why I say it's a complicated story. But if they pulled him over for the air freshener, that's where the problem begins in the first place. And the last thing I'll say about that, guys, every traffic stop doesn't have to turn nuclear, and every person who runs doesn't have to be shot. So you're only supposed to shoot someone if you think that they are a mortal danger to yourself or to nearby people, an imminent danger. At any moment, they could kill someone else. That guy was running, but he didn't appear to be an imminent danger. If she really thought she was tasing him, that might, given that he was still there, depends on the police protocol there, that might have been a logical thing to do, I don't know. But shooting him was nowhere near logical. And just, yeah, it's clear that we've seen far too many cases where they think, oh, he's running away, instead of trying to apprehend him later, let's just be done with it. And that's not acceptable.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.